Hi, I'm Araminta Matthews, Associate Dean of Graduate and Professional Studies here at Maine College of Art. In this video, I'm going to onboard you to your Canvas course site. I will show you how to make important changes to your site and how you can interact with the content here so that you can interact with your students once they are enrolled. When you first are loaded into a Canvas course site here at MECA, you will be given access to Canvas either through a MECA.edu email or through a personal email account. If you are given a MECA.edu email, you log in at canvas.meca.edu using this orange button in the middle. If you have any other email that you use to access Canvas, please use the white button to log in. When you first log in, you will be greeted by your dashboard. Your dashboard should only include the courses in which you are enrolled, either as a student or as an instructor. Click on whichever course it is that you want to work with, and you will first arrive at the home page. This is the home page for the SALT course template. Every SALT course at Maine College of Art has the same starting template, and there are a few things that you need to do to make edits to these pages. The home page, which you can reach by clicking the home button, click the edit button to make adjustments to your home page. This is the body of the page. This is the page that is visible to your students once you are completed editing it. This is the title of the page, how it appears in the table of contents, and this is the rich text editor. These are your options for how you can organize the page. Notice it's very similar to rich text editors in Google Docs or in Microsoft Word. You can insert rich media, such as external web links, internal course links, images, media, recordings, media links, documents, tables. You can embed other websites. Really, you can edit the content in whatever way makes sense to you. However, the home page and the landing materials for your course are templated so that all of our students have a similar experience when they take our classes. So once you are in your home page, scroll down to the first place where you need to make an edit. This will be under Course Description and Expectations. You'll notice that you have some prompts of questions that we ask you to answer. Please let students know how many hours they should plan for the course, what the course will cover, and when the course plans to meet. When you reach this part, you should highlight and paste the course description exactly as it appears on your course contract with CS or how it appears on the CS website. Each of these questions you can answer in turn by clicking your mouse next to it and entering the answer. After you've completed the course description and expectations, scroll next to navigating your course. This section of the course page is already prepared for you with details about how students will navigate this course. If you have any additional information for navigating your course, feel free to add it here. Otherwise, you can feel free to move on. Under Meet Your Instructor, we ask that you enter your name. Please insert a photo, which of course you can insert by clicking this button and then upload image, then select an image from your desktop, and enter a biography for yourself. Note that we also require that you include instructor email address. Please include this with your email address and make it a mail-to.email link. Let me show you how to do that. If I want my students to be able to email me at my email address, I first need to enter my address. Then I'm going to highlight it. I'm going to copy it just because that saves me a step. I go up here. I click External Links. The link is going to be this, MAILTO : and then I'm going to paste in my email address. This makes a clickable mail to link for my students. So now when my students are ready to email me, they can just hover their mouse over my email address and it will automatically open an email for them directly to me. After you've completed that section, we suggest that you enter information about the calendar and suggested deadlines. This is helpful for students to know just what to expect from the class and when they can expect to have to have completed work for you. Once you have completed the home page, you have two choices. You can add it to the student's to-do list, or you can just save it and move on. Let's add it to the student's to-do list. By clicking this button, I will be prompted to enter a date and time. If my class begins on April 30th, then I would definitely want them to review the details of the course homepage no later than midnight or 11:59 p.m. on April 30th. So I'm going to go ahead and select that, and then I'm going to click Save. Students will now be able to see that there is an expectation that they complete this to-do list item by April 30th at 11:59 p.m. And that to-do list item is the course homepage. So now that you've completed the homepage, there is one other detail I want to draw your attention to, and that is this button here where it says Unpublished and Published. Anything on your course site that is unpublished is not viewable to students. If you want your students to be able to see this page, you have to click the Publish button. This is true of every page in your course site, but I'll give you a shortcut to do that for all the pages all at once. For now, you're just going to want to make sure that this is green and lists published. That means your students can now see this page. To navigate to the other areas of your template, we're going to use the button called Modules. Modules are like chapters in a book, and your course site is like a full-length book. So each of these modules is a different chapter within the book, and these are the pages within that chapter. You'll notice that the first chapter, Welcome, Introduction to Project and SALT at MECA, has several pages within it, including the home page, which we just completed. If I navigate back to the home page, you'll notice that at the bottom, there is a Next button. So your students can navigate through the course site using the Next and Previous buttons in order to go through your course in a linear progression, meaning from page 1 of your book to page 151. You can also use the Modules button, though, to see at a glance all of the pages in your book. So after you complete the home page, next up is a requirement for you and all of your students to introduce themselves. This is a discussion board. You already had a peek at it a moment ago, but just looking a little more closely, you'll notice that there are instructions for what we want the students to do to complete their introduction to one another. You can edit this by adding more details. All you need to do is click the Edit button, and here you will see again the body, which is the page that the student is viewing. This is where you would put the instructions for the discussion. And then further down are the settings for your discussion board. I advise you to ensure that Allow Threaded Replies is selected. Notice that you can enable a podcast feed. You can also enable grading. You can also add it to the student's to-do list. If you need to grade this for whatever reason, feel free to enter graded, set a point value, and be sure to set a due date. I do not need the introductions to be graded, so I'm going to unselect that, but I do want my students to complete this task, so I am going to select Add to Student To-Do List, and I'm going to have them complete this task on the first day of class, April 30th by 11:59 p.m. Once I have completed all of the selections for my discussion editing, I click Save. Once again, make sure it's published. And now this is visible to students. I'm going to click the Next button to navigate to the next page in the module. This is the Canvas and SALT support page. Notice there is some instruction for students about where they can go if they need help navigating different areas of the site. There are some details about different people in the organization who can support them, and there is a section that you need to edit. This section here about webinars. Most courses in continuing studies do require face-to-face meetings on some occasions for your students. These meetings will most likely occur using Google Meet or Zoom. So in this section of your course Canvas and SALT support page, we ask that you enter the information about how your students can connect to your course site. For example, if you'll be using Zoom to conduct your class, create the live session link in your Zoom account and then navigate to this section here and provide some instruction. For example, course meets every Monday and Tuesday at 9 p.m. Here is the link to our Zoom session. Paste in the URL from your Zoom link. If you're using Google Meet, you can do the same thing from Google Calendars. Just copy and paste the URL for your meeting link. And if there's any further instruction, add that as well. For instance, if there's a password, enter that here. Once you are complete, you can change that this is highlighted yellow by clicking this highlight button and just make sure that none is selected and it's now no longer highlighted in yellow. When you are done, navigate to the bottom of the page, make sure everything is to your liking, decide whether or not to add it to the student to-do list, click Save, and now you have updated the webinar information for your course site. The next few pages in the module, the Welcome module, are preset and do not require your engagement. These include what is the SALT Institute, all about Maine College of Art, and archive examples from the SALT Story Archive. These are links to different stories that SALT students have created in the past. We leave these 3 links in there so that any student visiting our course pages starts to get an experience of what it's like to be a SALT student here at Maine College of Art. Now that's the last page of the first chapter or the first module in our course book. When I click Next, it's going to take me to the top of the next module or next chapter in our course book. So I'm going to actually click Modules and take you there directly so you can see what we have in store for the course content section of your course. Now this is what we have preset for you, and I'll walk you through what each of these buttons means and does. But I want to draw your attention to the fact that maybe you need more than one chapter for your content. Let's say your course lasts for 3 weeks. You might want to have a different module for each of the 3 weeks. So you'd have module 1, and then you could add additional modules by adding the plus module button here. To add content to a module, simply use the plus button, and you may add assignments, quizzes, files, pages, or discussions. My advice to you is to stick with pages, discussions, or assignments, and please let me advise you on what each one does. A page is simply a web page. I often use a page for my passive content. That might be web pages that I construct myself. Anything that is passive and does not require the student to interact by submitting or entering into a text box something for me, just something that they're reading, reviewing, or listening to. An assignment is anything I want my students to hand in to me and only me. So when I make an assignment, that means they are uploading a document or they are sharing with me a recording or a link to a website or even a podcast feed, but I'm going to be the only one who sees it. Lastly, a discussion is another active assignment. This is when my students need to upload or enter a recording or a podcast feed, only this time everyone in the class sees it. In your beginning course content module, the very first page is course readings and videos. I recommend that you navigate to this page, click Edit, and insert your entire to-do list or itinerary of resources that you want your students to work through. For instance, I might include readings, videos, lectures, other media. In each of these sections, I actually want to include the content that I want my students to address. So this might be a URL, or it might be a link to a YouTube video, or I might even upload a document that I have on my desktop, perhaps a PDF file. I can also record media directly here. If I click Record Media, notice I can drag a media file, MP3 or MP4, or I can record directly. My webcam is currently in use because I am currently using it to provide this training for you. However, if my webcam were not in use, you would see a box here that would show my webcam in action, and I can record my mic, my webcam together. And when I record, there'll be a brief countdown. It will begin recording my content, whatever and however that may be. When I click Finish, Save, It actually inserts the video recording or audio recording directly into the page that I'm working on. This is available to every section of Canvas that you might be editing. So just remember, you can add rich media to many sections in your Canvas site. When you're done adding all of the readings and videos, make sure to add it to your students' to-do list for the due date that you want them to complete this by. Click Save, ensure that it's published, and move on to the next page. The next page in the module after reading and video assignments is a general discussion board. This is set up for you to create any rich discussion you might want. So I suggest that you click on it and edit it and use this to advise your students on what you want them to discuss. This is a great opportunity for you to prompt them with some intellectual or Socratic method dialogue where you can engage with your students around a topic in a deep way. You might include a prompt here or a reading where you upload a reading to the discussion and ask your students to answer key questions about it. Then ask your students to interact with one another when they're done so that they can engage with one another. Remember, this is called a discussion board by Canvas, but you could take this a step further if you want. You could make this a presentation board instead. I advise you to select Allow Threaded Replies. Determine whether or not this should be graded, or if you want to enable the podcast feed. Add it to the to-do list, and set the due date for the first time they need to post to the discussion board, whatever that may be. Click Save, and move on. So we've covered the first 2 pages in your custom course content module. Now let's look at the third page. This icon means assignment. Now remember, a discussion is when I want my students to interact with me and everyone else in the class. An assignment is when I want my students to interact with just me. So in this option, I may be wanting my students to upload a document or an audio recording just to me so that I can give them feedback. So let me click Edit on this. Here's where I will provide the instructions to my students. I might say, upload your SoundCloud recordings here, or link to your document here, or link to the website you created here. Set up a point value if I need it to be graded. And then this is an important detail, submission type. It is important that you select something in this box because right now where it says no submission, that means your students can't do anything with this box. I would like to allow them the opportunity to submit online either a text entry, a website URL, a media recording, or a file upload. If I do not make a change to the submission type, my students will have no way to enter anything into this assignment prompt. It will just be a prompt for them that they can read, but they can't do anything with it. By selecting text entry, that will create a text box that my students can enter text directly into, just like in a discussion board, only I'm the only one who can see it. By selecting website URL, my students can link to a website that they've developed, or perhaps it's a Google Drive link. By selecting media recordings, they can include media recordings, and file upload, they can upload documents. If your document is in PDF or Microsoft Word, you'll actually be able to interact with that document directly in the center of your Canvas board in SpeedGrader, which I'm about to show you. After you have selected the due date and any other pertinent details for the assignment, click Save, confirm that it's published, and move on. Before I show you SpeedGrader, one last thing. You do have an external link as the last section of your course content. This is our course evaluation. Please leave this untouched. This allows us to gather important information about courses here at Maine College of Art, and so the evaluation under this button does need to remain in your course site. I'll show you how you will grade things, or how you will at least interpret or receive materials that your students submit. After your student has submitted an assignment, you can click Grades, and using a feature called the SpeedGrader, you'll be able to click here, Initiate SpeedGrader, and anything that your student has submitted will appear in this section of the course site, and on the right, you will have the opportunity to provide an assessment and also provide them written feedback in this comment section. You can also upload or record a video or record audio of yourself talking directly to the student. In SpeedGrader, you can also navigate quickly through all of the list of students in your class by using these arrows to go through each student in your class. When you're done providing the feedback to your student or attaching those files, click Submit before you hit the arrow key for the next student. A couple other features of Canvas that I want to show you. Announcements is another way you can reach your students. If you click plus announcement, enter the body of your announcement here, you can determine whether or not students can comment on that announcement, click Save, and the announcement will automatically be sent out to all the students in your course. Now, just a couple other features I want to draw your attention to. You and all your students in this class have access to Canvas Studio. Studio is the recording mechanism that I shared with you earlier. You can record from any place in your Canvas site, whether that's a discussion board, an assignment, or a page, and so can your students. If they miss this button for whatever reason, perhaps you have disabled it in your navigation, there's another Studio button over here in the overarching navigation. It leads them to the same area that allows you and your students to record or add media. Next, I want to draw your attention to the Commons. The Commons includes 190,000 open educational resource objects. If you're teaching a class and let's say you need some technical support for that class that you yourself don't want to teach or that you know a tutorial could do better, you might search for Google Slides tutorial. Notice there are 7 examples here. You can explore these different tutorials. And if you find something that's useful to you, like the content here, I can actually import it directly into my course site. I just select Import, navigate to the course site I'm working from, import into course, and there we go. I have added content from an open educational resource repository to support my course materials. If you get stuck, there is a help button always in your Canvas sites, and we do have 24/7 access to Canvas for help. This is available to both your students and to you as faculty. There is also an 800 number 24/7 support line that you can use. So if for any reason you get stuck in your Canvas experience, remember this help button here.